Hello YouTube viewers, welcome to my channel Science to Technology. In today's show, Computer Awareness Day, we're gonna talk about virtual reality. So let's dive right into it. Well, first we have to understand what the heck we are talking about. It's also called VR, which simply means virtual reality. Now this is an optical system with motion. Now a monitor is an optical system but does not have any motion. But basically it's not gonna compensate for your movement, or it's gonna move with you. It's a static thing. However, VR by definition has to have motion in it. Now either it could be bounded to you, or it could be in such a way where it's compensating for your movement. It has to be there. Now body acts as a feedback loop. For example, let's say you are playing a video game. Normal scenario, you have a monitor, you are running a game. You to go left, you press a system. You can move your neck as much as you want, but there is no feedback loop there. So in VR it's completely different. Basically you move your head left or right, whatever have you, and that directly tells the computer it's like to compensate in this way. So that creates a very serious system where you have feedback. Basically you can do like this, like this, like this, like this, and all of this motion will have a feedback on what you are seeing. So basically you can move in quote-unquote virtual space. Now another aspect of this which separates it from AR or augmented reality is basically it blocks out every other optical input. So basically you're supposed to put this in and you should not have the ability to see anything else. Like for example, let's say you are watching a movie in this screen, so to say, but you can still see the wall. All these things are still here. In VR there won't be such thing. You are completely enclosed. Basically it has to feed back all basically data that is generating to 100% of your field of view. You cannot have a scenario where it's like it only feeding back the full your field of view has to be covered. Otherwise the moment you move your eyes, you're like, dude, I'm looking at something. Rather than looking through a window, you will have it, no, I'm looking at a screen which moves. So for this reason, all the outside influence has to be shut out. Basically the foam that they give you, that thick foam, there is a very good reason for it. It's a very good way to block light, so you do not have light bleed from bottom or top, whatever have you. That's what we are talking about. So how the heck this system works? Well, it's a 3D projection for each eye. So how the heck you do 3D? Very simply, if you have left and right data pointers, like this goes to left eye, this goes to right eye, and you can directly feed them to left eye and right eye. It's super easy to do. It's actually easier than making 3D TV or 3D theater, because there all the projection is happening in one screen and somehow you have to separate it out. Here you can simply use a normal monitor and just have left and right, and using lens to focus only on this or only on that. So your each eye gets isolated data points. Based on that, your brain can create a three-dimensional reality. So it works surprisingly easy. We have figured this out as early as like 1970. So this works. Now real-time feedback loop. Now this is the critical aspect. It has to be real-time, because our brain does not work in a computer system. Oh, I'm not getting data, I'm gonna hang on a bit. No, it will accept it, and the moment that real-time is broken, the feedback loop falls apart. Consequence of that, vomiting, motion sickness, headaches, all that will happen if real time is not kept properly. It has to behave properly. Otherwise all you're gonna do is painful neck injuries with serious headaches. It has to be real time. Basically 1 second in virtual world has to be 1 second in real world, and every motion that you are doing must be compensated properly. Otherwise it will simply not work. And that's the biggest consequence. Military was using virtual reality very early on, as in like as early as 1970 and all that jazz. But problem was, to run that real time system back then they used to have servers, and even now when they have, military still is using VR systems. They are still ludicrously expensive. Like you will take normal let's say gamer grade high end, $3,000, good, you're good, you're stable. $5,000, you're going YOLO department. At this point you cannot max out the system. 5,000 in maximum you can spend and still get something out of it. But military will spend 50,000, 60,000 just so they can maintain that real time absolutely accurately. And not to mention their physics engines are much more robust. So you need a lot of real time computation, and this is the expensive part. Computation is cheap, but real time computation, that's why your graphics card is so expensive. That's very difficult to do. And your game engine have to be written in such a way that it can manage that. Like normal game engine is like not it's like, oh you are telling me to move left, okay, left. In VR you can literally have a scenario where you're giving the command. Basically you can still have a controller, or you can still have some joysticks or something like that, and you're giving command one way and your head is moving another way. Like let's say you're doing a flight sim, and you have like, okay, I'm gonna move leftwards and I'm gonna look right. Here's the game engine is like, what the hell? That means it literally has to render all of them. So fundamentally game engines have to do a lot of computation to do that. You can't just take any Tom, Dick and Harry game engine and it's gonna work with it. Thankfully all the major big free game engines right now can do this to some extent, sufficient, and you can push them to a point where they're like, no, like, game engine got this, you can develop whatever you want to do that, be it CryEngine, be it Unreal Engine, be it Unity Engine, you can do that. And the core reason, many times, like, people were always in early days, they were focusing on one thing only: frame rate. Can you do 60 frame per second? Can you do 90 frame per second? Can you do 120 frame per second? But then we realized, like, of course, after experience, latency is the king here. Basically, it does not matter if you have 90 hertz, everything is good. But if it's 90 hertz unstable, basically latency in some frames are too high, some frames are too low, you literally gonna have a headache, splitting headache, as in like bad headaches. I have used it, so I know. So fundamentally, it's very crucial that latency must be kept low, otherwise people will put it on. No thank you. And I can guarantee you, if you have experienced early VRs, you have that kind of feeling. It's like, dude, I want to enjoy this, but it hurts. That's the reason, latency. So how the heck the hardware side of this works? You need multiple input for computer to figure out like what the hell you're doing, because it has to physically know what you're doing. It's like, oh, is it doing this like this or like this or like this? It has to know all that data point. For that reason, two core ideas have been floating around and two manufactured. One of them is like outside in. So you're gonna have either cameras, light sensors, radar, LiDAR, whatever have you, you're gonna have sensors, and this is gonna have two lighthouses in case of HTC Vive, and this is gonna project rays, and using that, computer is gonna calculate. So again, there is a lot of complicated system that goes in, but idea is somebody is looking down on you and feeding that information to computers, like, dude, that person moved left or right. So that's what we call outside in, like outside looking inside. That's one way. It's the only way in past we could have done VR systems. Nowadays, because of the miniaturization of computers and specifically camera sensor model, because of mobile phones, outside in is possible, and this is a Oculus selling point. Basically, you buy the headset, that headset has cameras and it's looking outside. So basically, you move in and camera uses motion recognition to like, oh, that let's say a tea table was, let's say, 3 feet ahead, and it moved few pixels closer to that, means you physically move. And it also has other data point, basically gyroscope, accelerometers, all the data point combined it can do inside out. So your camera becomes an eye, and computer is like, no, I get it. So if you're getting this kind of perspective, that means your head is like this. That way, it's what we call inside out, and it's much more efficient because you just have it on your hand. You don't have to change something with your room. In the old VR system, they used to have like giant systems, and you can still see a certain version of it used in Hollywood. So that is very critical aspect. Inside out is the future. Now, there are certain things that you will hear. You can do most of these things with your mobile phone using Google Cardboard, but be very mindful, Google Cardboard can only do 3 axis of rotation, cannot do 3 axis of motion. What the hell that means? That seems to me 3 axis of rotation is like 1, that's 1 axis, 2, 3. This is rotation. Your mobile phone can easily do that. Why? Because it has a gyroscope. Now 3 axis of motion, that means that's 1 axis, another axis. This your mobile phone cannot detect. It simply does not have any sensor to do that. However, some people have tried in the past, including Lenovo, where they were use the camera that is already in your mobile phone and use that as a feedback loop, so it can do 6 axis of motion. You need 6 axis to be completely free, where you can like look around an object. Right now what you can do is look left and right, up and down. Like you can do your neck motion, but you cannot use your body. Neck, awesome. Body, no. So for this reason, all the PC equipment or all the high-end dedicated system, they always have either outside in system or inside out, because without it, gyroscope and accelerometer cannot give you motion. It can only give you rotation. So this is the hardware logic that goes behind the hardware that we use for VR. Now, what are the problem? Because if you are old enough, you must have heard this puppy starting as early as 2005, 2010. This is gonna be the big thing, next big thing, and it never happened. What the hell was the problem? Because be mindful, this puppy came into the market when 3G was a thing, and right now we are at 5G. So where the hell is our VR? Reality was computer was not powerful enough, and right now still not powerful enough. You can literally buy the big freaking graphics card from Nvidia and still will barely do VR, flat out. Like if you take the fidelity, visual fidelity that a game engine can render for let's say fixed display, is like, I got this, almost photorealistic. It's like, bro, I got this. You'd say, and render a full 360 degree scene, graphics card is like, bruh, I can't handle this. Like that's why military used to use freaking servers and all that jazz. Like you have to have multiple graphics cards chained together, maybe you're able to do that. And that's why you can easily see all the VR games that are, they are very artsy in the style, because computer cannot do photorealistic yet, flat out it cannot do that. So graphics that you are seeing in, let's say, Tom Riddle and things of that nature, you cannot expect that in VR. Like the VR game that is using same hardware that you can use for latest Tom Riddle game will literally look 5 or 6 years behind. because fundamentally it has to render everything, like it has to render in a sphere. It simply cannot do that. So flat out computation power is not enough. Like again, right now we are in a position where you can just chain up enough hardware and you can reach that point, but you can say it's not something that my computer is going to do that. No, we are not there yet. Another, display technology is not built for this kind of specific, like all display technology is basically built for mobile phones. This puppy is mobile phone here. It's fundamentally requires much higher level of precision. Like this is so close to your eyes that if the pentile matrix, basically the filter array that is put behind the backlight, behind, I'm saying backlight, basically before backlit, that will literally, you can see like especially if you move your eyes. Our eyes are not a camera, it's a scanner. It scans like this. So if you do not have a good matrix, you can literally say that's a red subpixel, that's blue subpixel, because it's so freaking close to you. Fundamentally, display technology was not there when it came out. It was like, oh, in the future we may have the technology to do that. It was like that far ahead. Another aspect, lenses. Now lenses is critical because if you have any intelligence, you know for a fact that your eye also have a minimum focus distance. You can't just focus here. You can try that. Like you can't see your fingerprints here, but lenses does allow you to have a virtual field of view where you can see the whole damn thing. Now here's this is the first time any lens has been designed for this exact application. Nobody knows how to make this. Nobody knows how to make it polished, how to reduce chromatic aberration, how to have less eye fatigue and all that. Nobody knows this because this is the first time people have been doing that. I can give you a simple example. Let's say you look at photographic lenses that are made for full frame cameras, 35mm. They were this small when old Nikon film cameras had been used. They were this small. Nowadays, same specification, like 50mm f2.8, let's just say, that will be this huge now. Why the heck it's this huge? Did we forget the antlerless technology? No. We just try to correct every problem, basically vignetting, distortion, color fringing. All that data point is making it fundamentally difficult. Like lenses like evolved, that technology evolved. Same way electronics or lens design also evolved. So flat out, the early days lens were not good enough, and many times flat out you can see this VR company came along and it's like they were not talking about lens. You can be damn sure it's gonna go out of business, and it happened. Like 15-16 company came along and none of them survived, even few years, so to say, because lenses are the first thing that your eye sees. If lenses are not good enough, everything else falls apart. It does not matter the monitor that you're putting behind it. So lenses was not good enough. Again, nobody had experience. So it's not like manufacturers like trolling people. It's like they don't know. It's like they're learning the hard way, so to say. Headsets are too damn heavy. I have used this headset. It was available in my game studio, and it's heavy. Fundamentally, it's not something that you can give a child and expect them to stay straight up for a very long time. Like and it's not even built properly. Like for some reason, they are not coming with helmets. Like helmet is designed inherently, is the engineering on helmet has been done for 100 years. So we have the good engineering where you can have a big heavy things on your head without it hurting you. VR headset is not utilizing that technology. Like you can see fighter pilots inherently have that kind of technology, and it's so big, so heavy, but they are comfortable. It's designed that way. So VR is like stuck in a weird way where the technology inside it is growing. We went from LCD to OLED, we went from 60 hertz to 90 hertz to 120 hertz to very high refresh rate, very reduced motion lagging, and everything is awesome, but still giant clunky mobile phone on your ass. It's like that does not work. Flat out, it's too damn heavy. Like specifically, this is how you figure it out whether it's going to work or not. Give it to children. And the tether application, yeah, that's not gonna cut it flat out, because you are physically moving and you can easily feel that tether. There are some people who spend so much money. It's like they have a house, they have like a PVC pipe frame, and that frame has a hook, so the tether comes from top. So and that, if that is happening, you will not feel it that much. So you can understand that's unacceptable, flat out unacceptable. It has to be a tetherless system. Now some upcoming technology, including HTC and Facebook systems, they might be planning, like this is what they're in their technology roadmap. They're planning to use 5G. And I'm like, why the hell you want to talk to mobile tower? Well, no, 5G as in technology of 5G. 5G was designed as a communication protocol. You can use that from your computer to your headset. And the core reason for that, it's very low latency. That's why normal Wi-Fi will not work. Maybe Wi-Fi 6E could do this the same thing, but I do not know about the latency. That is the core aspect. Latency has to be very low, because if even if computer can compute, but it has to wait. Like what the hell, that headset is telling me, oh, you have moved 7 degrees left, and then you're gonna, that latency cannot happen flat out fundamentally. So wireless, it has to become very low latency. So these problems, literally, like we wanted to go big and we went home. So what we can expect in the future? Well, Thankfully, VR did not die out, but it's slowly progressing. But if it has to become something real, something normal, something in average individual users, it cannot be $1,000 plus expensive. Flat out, nope. Go home. It cannot be this expensive. So price has to come down. And tangibly speaking, you are talking about around $3,000 at this point in time. If you want bonkers as VR system, you are talking about that kind of money, where you are like, okay, now I can finally game. That's very expensive. And frame rate has to become at least 120. Any system that is going 60 hertz or 90 hertz, yeah, bye bye, flat out, because our eyes have motion built into them. Like basically, when you are moving your head, you may think 60 hertz is enough, but point is your eyes can be moving while you are moving. So it's like, imagine this way, the rotation on this axis plus on this axis multiplies the outcome. So you can literally, your eyes scanning area can move so fast that if refresh rate is low enough, it can literally catch up. It's looking jaggedy. So that reason 120 is bare minimum, and low latency, everything comes down to that. Like the lenses have to be improved. However, the older system of lighthouses, they have to go away, because fundamentally it's a tricky thing to sell. Like buy this expensive thing and then do, drilling and all that jazz to you mount this system. Yeah, no. So inside out is becoming a very common thing, and HTC Vive is also working on that, where they're gonna have camera on the system, and that's way that's how the computer is gonna calculate where the heck the system is. So it has to be done this way. You cannot have a scenario, oh, buy this expensive system, make a dedicated room for it, and then you can only play this. This has to become inside out, where you can just like put it and scan the room and ta-da, good to go. And lot more tether-free experience has to be created. Flat out, you cannot have this 1970s kid is like giant helmet and super giant cable. Yeah, that's not gonna fly. Flat out, these things have to change for it to have any future. Thankfully, many people are working on brick by brick, like chopping it off, but it will take a certain time where it's like VR is here. So this was my presentation on basically virtual reality. I hope you liked it, learned from it. In that case, please click the like button, share it amongst your friends. That will help me a lot. If you didn't like it, didn't enjoy it, I urge you to press dislike. Press it twice to show me extra disappointment. Please leave a comment, because I try to reply to all of them. Subscribe, press the bell icon if you're free. And as always, thanks for watching.